Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. We'll wait a moment for everybody to file in here to the Zoom room. Let some more participants in. Wow, we got a pretty nice sized group of people here today.
12 already.
Let me introduce my co-host, Lilly Browning, our Florida-friendly landscape agent. And our office assistant, Teresa, is on here also.
She hid herself. That's not fair.
Yeah, she just cut the camera off there. So we have everybody muted. We have everybody muted, and we have all your cameras off. So we ask that you please keep your cameras off. If you have questions, of course, if you look at the bottom of your screen where it says chat and click on it, you can go ahead and type your questions in. And this is what we're here for, is to answer your questions. So we should be able to get to all of them. I can't always answer every question right off the top of my head. But if you don't know an answer, we'll find it out.
Don't you know everything, Dr. Bill?
No, I don't. I pass the really hard ones on to you. That's why you're here. And if it looks like I'm struggling, Teresa is on here and she's on her computer looking up the answers for me. So teamwork. So I do have a couple pictures that were sent to me last week after last week's plant clinic, which I wasn't able to attend. But Lilly, it looks like you and Jim had a really great time.
We did. Yes.
Good. I know when I spoke with him, he said he had a great time, had a very good time answering everybody's questions.
He said he misses
asking questions.
He said he misses doing that, talking to the public and answering questions.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys saved all your really hard questions for him, which is I really appreciate. So let me go ahead and click on here. So some updates for this week. Gosh, it's May 21st already. And I saw the weather on TV this morning. It looks like summer is here. So last week, Melinda sent me a couple pictures from her crape myrtle. And I'm not sure if Melinda's on here. Oh, no, I see Melinda on the list of people here. So hopefully she's here. And she sent a few pictures of her crape myrtle. And
something's chewing on it.
I had to think about this for a little bit. So let me see, where do I begin? It looks like there may have been something chewing on it, but more importantly, on the leaves here, on the very edges, it's very dark and it's curling up a little bit, which would indicate a disease starting at the very edge of the leaves. You can get either fungal or bacterial diseases that start at the very edge of the leaf and work their way in. Sometimes just the leaf curling would indicate that there's an insect problem, some kind of insect, aphids or something feeding on the bottom of the leaf that's making it curl like that. But what I think is probably happening here is a little touch of some kind of fungal disease. And what I would say is this may be a disease that was a problem. You need to look very, very closely at the brand new little leaves that are coming out. And if you start to see the same problem with the brand new little leaves that are starting, then it's a current fungal disease and you're probably going to have to spray with a fungicide. But I would caution you to also look very, very carefully at all the leaves, the old ones, the little tiny new ones, turn them over, get yourself a hand lens or magnifying glass and look very closely and see if you don't have maybe aphids or spider mites or something that are feeding on the leaves and making them curl. So if this is a problem just with the old leaves and not the new leaves, you don't have to worry. If it's a problem with the old leaves and the brand new leaves, you're probably going to have to apply a fungicide. So without actually having leaves to physically look at, that would be my guess as to what the problem is. Lilly, any ideas?
No, you're the disease doctor. It does look like though something is physically chewing on the leaves as well, like that's a secondary problem.
Yeah, because the edge of the leaves look ragged But the one, especially as I'm looking at it on the far right here, that's
Yeah.
the disease at the very edge of the leaf. It started at the
Mhm.
very edge and it's working its way in a little bit.
Would a
Uh,
leopard grasshopper chew on crepe myrtle leaves?
Sure, you know, crepe myrtles are nice because they are tough as nails. So you'll get a lover grasshopper and maybe a random caterpillar, some other things that'll chew on a leaf or two, but it doesn't, almost never kills crepe myrtles. And they'll come
Right.
right back, they'll make new leaves, they'll still flower. They just kind of laugh off the little bit of chewing or damage they're getting.
Especially an older one like this.
Yeah,
I
it
had a
looks like
very,
she said in her email that she's had it for a number of years. It's an older, established crepe
mhm.
myrtle. So crepe myrtles, we rarely have to recommend treatment because even if they do get a little bit of an insect problem, it's usually not bad enough where you have to spray. And I've noticed from looking at crepe myrtles, if you look real closely, you're always going to find some aphids, but you'll usually find some ladybugs eating the aphids, and you think, oh, well, I really don't have to do anything, don't have to spray. So if you want to go ahead and answer it, you know, about whether you still see this problem on the brand new leaves or continue to see it with the newer leaves, you know, I might be able to give you a better answer, but based on the pictures, I would think a touch of disease that you may have to treat for, or maybe not. So I do want to mention that our next class coming up is next Tuesday for anybody that has a vegetable garden, food safety in the home garden. And I'm going to get a friend of mine, special guest Travis Chapin. I worked with Travis when I was still going to University of Florida. He was a master's degree student at the University of Florida Research Center over there in, where is it? It's the Citrus Research
Citra?
Station, Lake Alfred.
Yeah.
And he was doing food safety research, and I was working in one of the labs, so I know him personally. Real nice guy. He now works for Extension. He's the Extension food safety specialist. So there's a lot of things that you want to keep in mind. There's a lot of scary stuff that's outside in the garden, in the soil. And a lot of times you might not think about washing your hands as often as you should, taking steps to help protect you. Travis is going to cover all that. He's a really nice guy, good speaker. I'm sure it's going to be a great class. That is going to be on Zoom and Facebook Live. If you need the links for Zoom, if you go to our Facebook page, it's on there. If you need more information, email me, call the office, email Teresa, we'll get that link to you. But that should be a very good class next Tuesday at 10 a.m. And I want to mention a little bit about something I mentioned before. It's this totally free service from University of Florida that's called DDIS, the Distance Diagnostic Identification Service. So let me close out of, well, let me start with shrinking that down and going into share. Their website, hopefully everybody can see this. If you go on Google and just Google UF space DDIS, this is going to come up. It's a distance diagnostic and identification system. This is a service that some researchers at University of Florida put together a number of years ago, and it's totally free. I use it a lot. It's free for everybody who works with Extension, but it's free for everybody that lives in Florida also. This is a service where if you have a question and you have a plant and you don't know what it is, you have an insect, you don't know what it is, you have a mushroom in your yard and you want to know what kind of mushroom it is because you have children or a dog, you want to make sure it's not a poisonous mushroom, you can submit your question to this service and route it to the appropriate person, and they will answer for you and send you back the answer. So anybody can sign up for this. If you go to it, this is the home page. This is the front page you're going to see. So for anybody who's watching today, if you want to sign up for this, if you go to become a user and click on that, you have to put in your name. When you go to user group, very important, you're going to pick Extension clientele because every resident of Florida is technically an Extension clientele. So you sign up, you pick extension clientele, put in your address. Now it gets a little confusing because if we have people on here who do not live in Hernando County, I know we have people from Seminole County, we may have them from Pasco and Citrus. When you put your address in and then you go back and you put a question in, the first place they send your question to is your county extension agent. So if you live in Hernando County, that's me. I'm a member on here and they're going to send your question to me. So I see your question, I look at the picture, you send a picture of a plant. If I know what it is, I can answer your question right there on the computer, send it back to you, question answered. If I look at that picture of a plant and I go, I don't know what the heck that plant is, I can push a button on my computer and forward it to the herbarium up in Gainesville. And Mark Frank up there with the herbarium is really, really good. He can identify every plant, and he does it very quickly. Matt Smith is the mushroom expert up in Gainesville. I've worked with him before. If you send a picture of a mushroom and I don't know, I can tell you right now, I'm not going to know what it is. I'm going to hit a button and forward it to him, and he'll answer the question. So this is a fantastic service. When you go in, after you sign up and you have a question, you click on it. It's going to ask you, you know, what department does this fall under? Is it plant ID, mushroom ID, insect ID? Click on that. You can upload pictures. So you can actually take your phone, and there is a phone app for DDIS. You can do the whole thing on your phone. You can take pictures on your phone, attach them. Here, let me admit somebody else here. You can actually attach the pictures that you took with your phone to your question, hit a button, and it submits it. And it goes, like I said, if you live in Hernando County, it goes to me first. If you sign up for this, and let's say you live in Seminole County, I'm not really sure who your question goes to first because I don't know who in Seminole County is signed up on DDIS. If you live in Pasco County and you submit a question, it goes to Jim Mall, who's one of the extension agents down there. I know that he's on DDIS himself. So feel free to go on here, sign up for it, totally free. Everybody can sign up for it. You're going to have to go through and answer the questions, put in your contact information. It's all done through email. So you submit your question through email. You're going to get your answer back through email, either from me or from somebody. And it's a really, really great way to get those questions answered for free and online. And you don't have to like tear a leaf off your plant or catch the bug in a jar and drive to our office, because at the moment, we're not allowing the general public to come into our office to have their questions answered. So this is just another way that we can help you guys out and answer your questions without you actually having to come to our office and see us. So if you have any more questions about that, feel free to email us.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
If
ma'am.
they are in another county, but they want it to go to you, will anything bad happen if they put in their, you know, their land address and put Hernando as where they want it to go?
I am honestly not positive how they categorize what county you live in, whether that's based on if they ask the name of the county and you put in Hernando or Seminole or whatever it might be. It may be best based on your zip code.
Okay.
So when you put in your zip code, it's going to determine whether you live, what county you live in, and therefore where your question is routed to. If you have a friend or you put in an address that is within Hernando County, your question will go to me.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing is you put in an email address so that they can get the answer back to you through email.
Sure. You should give your county agent a chance. They might also be able to answer you quite well.
Exactly. Every county in Florida has an extension office, but I am not positive if every extension office has somebody on DDIS. I know most counties do, but I can't guarantee because I haven't had a chance to ask them if all the counties in Central Florida do. So that's a very good question. And I'll contact them this week and find out, because we want to start promoting DDIS a lot more within Hernando County. It's a fantastic service. It's free. It's easy. If you're technologically advanced, all you need is one of these things. You go walk out in your backyard, you can put in what your problem is, you can take a picture of the weed or the plant, and you get a free answer. What more can you ask for?
And it's great to do it that way. iNaturalist is good, it's pretty good, but you got to consider you're getting answers from people all over the country. And so when you do this, it's very Florida based, and you know, they may know more specific about your area.
It is. iNaturalist is very good. I know it's used a lot more for biosurveys and for invasive plants. And obviously, if you were to send us a picture through DDIS and it's something invasive that we didn't know was in Hernando County, I would report that to iNaturalist in the appropriate, you know, databases also. So we would pass that information on. But yes, that's a very good point, that iNaturalist is good, but we're better. So put a good plug in.
I didn't say that. I said you're more specific to Florida.
Exactly. We're more specific. So Melinda mentioned on here, from what I can tell, the new growth does not look like this. So what that means is the older growth on your crepe myrtle, that I'm not really sure how long that older growth has been on there. It may even be left over from last summer if all the leaves didn't fall off your crepe myrtle and your crepe myrtle was totally bare over the winter. It may be a fungus or a problem that damaged it in the past, but is not currently damaging new growth right now. So you need to take a hard look at the brand new growth, watch it as it grows in. If it grows in problem-free, don't worry too much if the problem is 100% with the old growth, because whatever the problem is, either it went away or there's no real need to control it right now.
Should she remove the problem areas?
You can. Those problem leaves, you can go out there and remove them. You probably want to throw them away in the trash. You don't want to throw them on the ground, because if it is a fungal disease, now those leaves have fungal spores on them. If you leave them in the garden, it's going to spread. If you take them and throw them in your trash can and send them out in the big blue can on trash day, the problem is gone. So I see Teresa put a link to the Zoom address for food safety in the home garden. Thank you, Teresa. So that's coming up on Tuesday. Like I said, that should be a really fun class. I haven't spoken with Travis in a while. He's a real nice guy. It's the kind of thing that we want to offer our residents and our followers, more of like more advanced vegetable garden topics, as opposed to just the introductory basic vegetable gardening class that we've always had in the past.
I don't see Teresa's link. Did you send it to everyone, Teresa, or just to Bill?
Oh, she sent it to me privately. So Teresa, you have to click on the little 2 and make it to everybody. Oh, I think I just opened chat so that people can chat and everybody can see it. So Teresa, if you want to try that again and let me know if I clicked on the right button, that'd be great. So anybody else today have any other questions? If anybody sent me pictures at the last moment, sorry, but I haven't been on email. I was in another meeting right up until the time when this one started. So
some of them know how to put the pictures on the chat. They're very good about that. So if you can figure that out, that would be great. I had some questions yesterday I can bring up.
Okay, sure.
In a class I taught a class. There's Teresa's link is showing up now. I taught a class about native plants. So I had a few questions about muley grass. One of them was how to propagate it. Do you have an answer for that?
How to propagate muley grass?
Yeah.
Well, muley grass is a beautiful native. It's that decorative clump grass that you probably see a lot, and most of the year you really don't notice it until the fall, because in the fall it will flower and it turns kind of purplish pinkish and looks very, very attractive at that point. And the little flowers, I mean, it's hard, they're kind of almost not noticeable little flowers. They do actually set seeds. So you can go out there and on those little flower spikes, run your hand across, collect the seeds, plant them, and they should sprout and they should grow just fine. That's how muley grass spreads naturally on its own. Or you can go and buy a clump of muley grass. You don't see it at the big box stores very often.
Yeah, you do. It's one of the ones you can find there. I've seen it there.
Really? Because I know in
Yeah.
the past that I don't recall seeing it much in the past.
Yeah,
But
really two things that you can find that are natives, which is Yopon holly, the dwarf Yopon holly, and muley grass. And sometimes that's it that you'll find in the big box stores.
I think they're making a much bigger effort to start carrying more and more natives if people are asking for them and demanding them. But smaller nurseries, native plant nurseries, obviously have muley grass. But I know if you or a friend have a clump of muley grass, and over the years, that one little clump is going to turn into a big clump.
Mm-hmm.
You can dig up the whole big clump and chop it up into little pieces. As long as each little clump has some roots in it and plant each one, over time it will grow and spread into a big clump also. So if you have a big
And I
clump,
read
you
that
dig it
yeah,
up
it
and
should
share it
be.
with friends.
I read it should be about 3 years old before you try to divide it that way.
Yeah, it takes time for it to turn from a little clump to a big clump. But I've at our Master Gardener nursery, we've had master gardeners bring in clumps that we've taken little clumps off of,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought them in where they're like, I don't know, 2-3 feet across. I mean, it's 30-pound clump of muley grass that you're able to get a lot of small muley grass plants off of.
And that would be a lot faster way than you can do it by seed, because that would be fun and exciting to watch. But doing it by division would give you more of an instant garden. So.
Exactly. And it doesn't take long for it to get settled in, grow, and spread. Muley grass and most other natives, they don't take a lot of extra water. They don't really require fertilizer. They're not fussy about the soil. They'll grow in terrible sandy soil. As a matter of fact, that's what they really like the best. If you put something like that in a flower bed where you've added a lot of organic matter, you water it a lot, you fertilize it a lot, they may die because they don't like that. They
Mm-hmm.
like to be ignored. They like to be neglected. They like the really terrible native soils. So for that, muley grass is a great choice.
Should you cut it back every year?
You can. If it looks bad, you can cut it back down to the ground and it will grow back in the spring. But if you don't cut it back in the spring, it will start to grow new growth in it. And within a month or two, it's going to look fine. So it's whatever your preference is. There is no advantage, good point or bad point to trimming it back.
And there was another question about muley grass. Would it make a good plant to prevent erosion on a slope?
Yes, any kind of clumping grass is going to be good erosion control. So muley grass, Baccahatchee grass, which gets even bigger and has an even deeper root system.
Mm-hmm. Even little grasses like purple love grass or Elliott's grass probably would work as well.
That helps. Any kind of tight ground cover is going to help with erosion also. What you basically need to do is just cover that bare dirt to keep it from washing away. But clump grasses are used especially for erosion control. Another one that was traditionally used for erosion control is Kogan grass.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
And it works great for erosion control. It is horribly invasive though.
Yes,
so,
and kudzu too.
Sure, kudzu, that'll cover a hill and keep the soil put. But we don't recommend kudzu because it's a terrible invasive also. Fortunately, we have very little here in Hernando County, but just north of here, it's a terrible problem.
Yeah, we do have like a tiny little bit, and it's not an invasive here, kudzu, but we got plenty of other invasives. So.
We have more invasive plants here in Central Florida than I could ever learn. There are big fat books, and I don't know all of them off the top of my head. We're familiar with the really, really bad ones that are really widespread and cause a lot of economic or ecological problems. But all the little oddball ones, I'll never have them all memorized.
Right. And plus they add more as the Florida, what is it, FLEPSI, Florida Exotic Pest Plant Council is like a watchdog group, and they will have bigger lists because they have plants they're keeping their eyes on. And when they do become an economic or agricultural type problem, then they get on state and federal lists too. So
Always something new coming to town.
do you see any question from Melinda?
Yes, see a question from Melinda, and I can answer this one. There's these tiny orange spots on my canna lilies, almost resembles rust. It probably is a rust. There is a canna lily rust. There's another rust that amaryllis will get. For anybody who grows figs, figs get rust. Plumerias get rust in the late summer, early fall. So there are rust diseases out there, and they tend to be very colorful. Sometimes if they're on the bottom side of the leaf and it looks like bright orange little speckles, like a little kid's craft thing, you know, with Elmer's glue and the little orange sparkles on it.
Glitter? Is that what?
So I've cut the infected leaves off, put them in the garbage, which is good because the leaves that have rust spores on them now, and clean the shears. You've done everything correctly. What can I do? You can spray them with a fungicide. So for canna lilies, you could use a copper fungicide. Another one that's very easy to find at the stores is Daconil, Daconil. But probably any fungicide that's labeled to be used on ornamental plants and flowers would be effective to help keep the rust from coming back on the new healthy leaves. So Lily, Jennifer asks, and I'll leave this one to you, what is the best ground covers, grass or other, for full sun and sandy soil?
Depends on what you're looking for, I guess. You know, if there's a lot of ways to answer that, and depending what else you want. I mean, turf is a good ground cover, depending on what you're looking for, and all of our turf needs 6 to 8 hours of sunlight a day. So if it has that, you know, that's the first step in having a good turf, depending what kind of turf you want, what your other needs are. The hairgrass is the least maintenance turf that we have available, and it really does need a lot of sun. If you're looking for something other than turf, sunshine mimosa is a great ground cover. Depending on how tall you want it, you know, you can put different types of perennials like beach sunflower. Jasmine's like a little bit of a shady area, a little better. There is, if I bet Teresa could find ground covers for Florida, at least there used to be a publication about that. Maybe she could put that link up from UF. Do you have any other thoughts, Bill?
No, that covers them pretty well. There's a lot of options for ground covers.
Mm-hmm. And depends on what you're trying to
perennial
accomplish.
peanut does fine in full sun.
That's true, perennial peanut, but you'll have it everywhere once it gets established.
It spreads. You have to contain it.
We know someone who has that sunshine mimosa, which is a native ground cover. She actually has it as a lawn, and you know it looks pretty good. And when all the little pink pom-poms are done blooming, she allows her husband to mow it with a regular mower, and then it starts all up again, and it looks great in her yard. So.
Okay, Carol says that she has a photo. How does she add it to the chat? Teresa, do you have any idea how somebody would share a picture with chat? You may try to copy and paste it into the chat box.
There's a file. I see file, and then you can hit your computer, and then you can find where that picture is on your computer and go from there.
Okay.
I haven't done it, but that might work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me try it just to see
Well, I'm
if
sure
I
that
can
you
accomplish it.
or I should be able to do it, and I would think the participants.
Yeah. Let me try, and then I'll hit open. I chose one and I hit open. Yeah, there it is. See? Can you see
Okay,
it?
I see it. Yeah.
And then you just have to click on it to open it, I think. So what I did was hit file. Yeah.
Okay, so Carol, you need to hit the little chat box at the very bottom so that the chat section on the right-hand side of your screen opens. And then if you look at the bottom where it says to whoever you want to send the chat message to, next to that, it should say file. It does for us. Oh, Teresa put a picture of a blueberry up here. So see, we're all learning something new today.
And then when it says file, you hit where you're getting it from, which is probably your computer, and then, or your phone, whatever you're using. And
Carol, if you email it to me real quickly at wlester@ufl.edu, I can open it up.
okay. See, we all learn stuff. Now I'll just keep sending you pictures. I don't have very many pictures on this laptop where I'm working from home, so I have to get my pictures from elsewhere and then put them on here.
I have a mountain of pictures in mine and PowerPoint presentations and.
Well, yeah, I have them in various places, just not in a photo file on this laptop.
Okay, so Jennifer asked, what was the turf name?
Bahia.
I'm not sure what she probably about the ground covers.
Yeah, Bahia, Bahia grass. That is the it's a common turf grass around here. For your lawn, you want to get Argentine Bahia, and it is the least maintenance. Of course, everything to get established is going to need some water. So at this point, I would wait a month and let nature help you water it when the rainy season starts. You can get it by seed, which is really hard to get established that way. We would recommend sod, wouldn't you, Bill?
Yes, you can get Bahia seed and put it down. The problem is you can't let it totally dry out. So what happens on a sunny day? Yeah, it's pretty sunny out there right now. On a sunny day like this, is after you water it, 10 minutes later, it's totally dried out. So to get Bahia seed to germinate and grow in a lawn, you have to have a sprinkler system and you have to run it for like 2 minutes at a time, several times a day, to try to keep just the surface, because you only throw the seed down on the surface, keep the surface as moist as possible. The better you do at keeping it moist, the more seed is going to germinate. But if you put down Bahia seed and you don't water it for a few days, almost none of it is going to come up.
It's very
tough.
hard to germinate. And I mentioned the rains, but when they start, they're going to be hard afternoon rains, and some of the seed could wash away. So then you have uneven turf coming in. It's more expensive, but just better in the long run to use sod, because the weeds are going to grow in a whole lot faster than the turf from the seed. And once you have it established, Bill and I both have Bahia grass and weeds, and neither one of us water it at all.
Oh, I don't water mine at all.
No. Now mine doesn't look, as good as my neighbors, but I don't choose to spend my time, energy, and money on my lawn. As Master Gardener says, green, mowable, and looks good at 30 miles an hour. In the summer, let me add that, in the summer, then, I'm happy with it. But there are other, St. Augustine is your other most common choice Floratam is a variety of St. Augustine. You're going to hear Floratam when you ask about St. Augustine around here. It looks a little better. It is denser and darker green. Other than that, it has a whole lot of problems that you deal with all the time, don't you, Bill?
Yes, I do. And I'm trying to share a
No.
picture here that Carol sent.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can see. Let me see if I can turn it around for you.
Okay, yeah, you have to turn your head to the left.
Do you see up at the top?
So-
It's like a twisting thing. A circle, you might be able to rotate it.
There are a lot of different tools here for screen
On my thing, it's at the
share.
top.
But
I
I'll
would
see,
say
well,
that got frozen, is what happened to that probably. Now it went away. We'll just look at it sideways. It's okay.
there.
There.
That work?
Yay.
Well,
We're not
heck, I had to
visiting
click
anymore.
everything to do that. Okay, here we go. This looks like some type of leafy house plant, possibly a ginger. And the brown, that looks like definite disease. Some type of either fungal or bacterial disease, because it started at the very edges and it's working its way inside.
And has that yellow
If it
halo?
started more in the middle of the leaf or not at the edge, I would suspect sunburn.
What about freeze? It doesn't look like freeze damage to you?
It could be old cold damage, but once again, that probably wouldn't start at the edge and work its way inwards, because the top center leaf, where it has, each brown area has the classic yellow edge, and that big dark blob, kind of hard to explain. Let me,
You want to use bigger words than you're using, aren't you?
probably, yeah.
The ones that we won't understand.
Here, right here, if you guys can see this, where I'm highlighting the little spot, because this leaf, it started at the edge, it spread. I see the yellow border on that dead affected area, and this spot right here, my guess is if I looked at that under a microscope, I see all kinds of fungal conidia and reproductive structures. That's where you'd be able to see the fungus growing on the surface of the leaf. So because the damage is starting at the edge, yellow edge, working its way in, I would suspect some type of disease, although it may be old leftover cold damage from during the winter. Maybe if it was sitting in the window, it got too cold at night. So there's nothing you do to help fix any of the affected leaves, and it looks like most of them are affected. The ones that are in really bad shape, you probably want to cut off and get rid of. The ones that are at least 50% green, leave on for right now, and take good care of the plant. Hopefully you will get some new growth from it.
Can she cut off just the bad areas?
You can cut, it's going to look a little unsightly for a bit. You can cut off the affected areas, leaving the green part, because the problem is if you cut all the leaves off, now it has nowhere to, photosynthesis and, create food for itself. That's going to be a problem. So you may want to trim it up, know it's going to look unsightly for a little bit, and hopefully it's going to get some new growth now that we're into spring to replace the old growth. But you're probably going to need a fungicide on it. Once again, anything, since this is just an ornamental plant, any fungicide you can get from a big box store that's appropriate for any kind of landscape plants is going to be safe to use. I think that would fix it.
We do
Boy,
have
I'm getting
freezes.
to play
We
with
do have freezes in Central Florida, Carol. We do have them.
Yes, we do. We obviously have freezes. We have weather that's just cold enough that anything that's borderline tropical that you have even in your house, if it's next to a window and it gets really cold overnight, is going to get some damage.
You see the majestic palm question? Or I guess she has the same issue.
Yes, Majesty Palm.
Okay.
So Majesty Palm is, you can grow them outdoors in your yard in South Florida. I've seen them before in Miami area. They do great down there. Here, they're going to die in the winter because we just get too cold during the winter for Majesty Palm outdoors, unless it's in a really protected spot. You cover it. Maybe it's next to your windows where it's always staying a little bit warmer. So most of the time, Majesty Palms are going to be grown in big containers here. And they can grow well and look beautiful out by your swimming pool, your lanai. But Majesty Palms are probably going to need to be cleaned up this time of year. Any dead fronds you need to trim off. If the frond is half green, you need to just trim off the brown part, leave the green part for the time being. So yeah, Majesty Palms are going to have the same kind of damage right now that needs to be cleaned up. You want to take good care of it because now that we're into spring, almost summer, it will hopefully get new growth now to replace all the old damaged growth from last year and this past winter.
It was 93 degrees yesterday. I'm going to call it summer.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a month early.
The weather is supposed to be sunny, 93, and we're supposed to start getting those afternoon thunderstorms really soon, which means
Really?
your fungal diseases are going to be happy. They just love that high humidity and late in the day rains.
Mm-hmm.
So Carol said she did trim the brown stuff off and brought it out in the lanai. We'll get some fungicide next. So that should fix it. Hopefully it will start to get new healthy growth that's going to replace the old, either old growth, damaged growth, freeze damage, little bit of fungal disease. What you want to do is get these things growing to replace all that old stuff. So we're getting up to about quarter of. Gosh, I have another meeting I have to be at 11. So
I'm telling you,
anybody
you're
else
going to
has
get
any
Zoom
other
fatigue.
questions here? Now, keep in mind, if you have any other questions or pictures, feel free to email them to me. I do save them, put them in a PowerPoint. We show them the next week so that everybody on here can learn from your issues and problems. Because chances are, if you have a plant with a problem, everybody else has the same problem. They're just too shy to ask.
But you'll answer their question, right? They don't have to wait a week to get it answered.
Yeah. If you send pictures, I'll go ahead and send you an answer back. But I try to save them and show them to everybody the following week so that they can all learn from the same issue.
Chances are, yeah, people are having the same type of problems.
And we haven't had many insect IDs. So go out there and find a bug that's a problem in your yard, take a picture, send it in so I can ID that. So Lily, anything else? You going to be here with us next week? Who's going to be here
next week? I will be here, yes. It's June 4th, I told you I would not be here because we will be conflicting that day. I'm going to hold a class on a Friday because I'm not available on a Thursday because I'm not available on a Wednesday. But I'll be here next week. Tomorrow, I have a special fill-in class at 10 o'clock on my Facebook. It'll be Facebook Live. It's Much Ado About Mulch. Now, I know that there's a community, I'll go ahead and name it, it's Brookridge. And I was hearing from them before the quarantines all started. And some of them were quite upset because the community association sent down an edict that not only can nobody apply rubber mulch anymore, but if you have it, you have to get rid of it. So first of all, let me tell you, there's nothing I can do as a Florida-friendly landscaping coordinator to go against your HOA. What they did was they called me and asked what the county rules are, and that really doesn't matter. I mean, the county doesn't stop you from having rubber mulch. But when you live in an HOA, you got to live by their rules. You signed the contract, you know, that you live there for many reasons, which are good, safety and friendship and all of that, and to protect your investment. So sometimes they have rules that you're not happy with, but I can't help you with your HOA rules. Also, this time, which is unusual, the HOA new rules actually agree with Florida Friendly Landscaping. We don't recommend rubber mulch. I do feel for those who have to have it removed, because that's going to be a hardship and an expense. But what I'm going to have tomorrow at 10 is a class called Much Ado About Mulch, and I will give you all sorts of options for replacement for that rubber mulch. And we'll talk about mulch in general. Remember, Bill, when you filled in that class for me one time at the library?
Yeah,
What did
Lily
you say
asked
to
me
me?
to do a class on mulch, and I'm thinking, well, how am I going to talk for longer than 5 minutes on mulch? And we went on for quite some time. I was able to talk for a long time on mulch,
Yes. So,
different types of mulch, different benefits for the garden, how often to apply it, the problems that we see from people improperly applying mulch.
yeah.
Every summer I see a certain number of dead hedge bushes because of improper mulching. So hopefully you'll cover all that. I'll try to be on there watching, so I'll ask you a couple questions too.
Oh no, now I'll be intimidated. No, yeah, we'll cover all that. And what I've been thinking lately a lot about mulch is that mulch is like water. It's very important, it's very necessary, but too much becomes damaging, just like water.
Exactly. You have to do it correctly.
Right. And you'll find out tomorrow, 10 a.m. Some people get concerned because they're used to these Zoom classes of how do you get on my Facebook Live classes. All you have to do is be on my page at 10 o'clock and it will show up and you'll see it. So.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate everybody joining in. Like I said, if you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call, send us an email Lily with the really, really hard questions, or
And
call
I'll send them
Teresa
right
with
to
them.
Bill.
But I always end up with them anyway, so you may
Yes,
as well
you
just send them
do.
straight to me. And hopefully
You've
we will
got the
see.
doctorate, doctor.
Yeah. I get the tough one. So hopefully we will see everybody back here again next week.
I
And
see
until
Harley.
then, everybody take care and stay safe. And we'll see you again real soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.